So please welcome Sidney Campos to the show. Welcome, Sidney.
Hi, Ashley. It's so great to be with you.
All the way from San Francisco. I'm just down in San Diego, so we're not that far.
Cool. A little bit warmer down there. Actually, I was just on a call with someone in Encinitas, and they were telling me
Oh,
how beautiful it is there today.
yeah, it is beautiful. It's like I kind of sometimes feel funny having a Christmas tree up. We're wearing tank tops. But gosh, Sydney, I love having a podcast, and I know you have one too, and I will talk about that. But I love this because I know that when I'm called to someone or someone calls, like you called me listening to you on Next Level Soul. I listen to that podcast a lot. And I thought, oh, I'm going to reach out, and I do it right away because I know that I'm in this momentum is I'm going. So then I hear from you, and then, we set it up, and then, a few weeks go by and I get ready. I have interviews in between. So I'm getting ready to prepare myself for your interview. And I think, oh, not only was she amazing, and why I knew now why I wanted you to share you with my world, but there's something that you have there was something missing. I don't know how to explain it. That there was something missing in me that I didn't think was missing until I started going down your rabbit hole. I guess that's the best way to explain it.
Wow, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I just trust I do the same kind of discernment of like when I'm invited or guided to connect with someone and just really, yeah, what's most important to me is authenticity and heart, and you can feel it. You just
Yeah.
can feel it immediately. So you felt some resonance when I was on that other thing, and what you're speaking to is so powerful. It's so important for me to to articulate the unseen and the unspoken ways in which we impact one another.
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate that reflection.
Oh, so beautiful. And the word authentic, love, pure service, everything about you is so pure. And it comes from why are you laughing? Because
So,
it's so true.
oh, that's such a sweet reflection.
I know you're hilarious.
You
I
made me
mean it. You are. Because it's just this
laugh.
sweet little soul that I've found. And you're just this pure light that wants to share your wisdom, why you're here, your purpose, your passion. But I really want to start because I have two children, teenagers, so I'm at the end of their childhood. And, we all have our childhoods, and you talk about that a lot in I feel like I know that we believe this, like we pick our parents, we're soul families, we are here on this earth to grow and learn and expand. And we pick certain parents to do that for us. And I did the same. And, my kids picked me, and I'm like wondering what they're, what they're going to find from their journey as they leave my little nest here. But will you explain so we can start there, just kind of how you were raised? And because I feel like when I hear your story, I get where you started, and to like those were at the time it didn't seem beautiful in these gifts, but now when you're looking back at it, you're looking at it like, wow, I had to go through that. I had to pick that mother or that father to get me to where I am here now in my purpose, and feeling, so passionate about helping people understand that. Is
Mm,
that correct?
yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, it's also like I'm so in the present moment of what my life is challenging me and in terms of my growth. It's like, oh yeah, my childhood. Like it's not such a big deal anymore, but it's something that it's an important frame of reference, and I just was hanging out with my parents yesterday. We went to go see the Taylor Swift Eras concert movie.
Oh yeah, we did that.
It
Yeah.
was so much fun. And then
Fun.
we went out to dinner. And so we have this relationship now where we can just kind of hang out, and I can relate to them as these really cool people who have known me my whole life. And that's so special and so comfortable to have that. And I don't expect them to be anyone else. I
Right.
don't. expect them to be what I wish I had had growing up or something. And that shift I just described has only been in my reality the last couple of years. So it's been a long journey of forgiveness and releasing guilt and resentment and a lot of layers of healing to be able to relate in this way now, which is has a lot more freedom and spaciousness and just love and space for presence and authenticity too. Like I can really be myself, and just relating to them, I can actually feel that I have more support now for anything I choose to create in this
Hmm.
path. So actually what's been happening more in my present reality has really been fascinating. And to take it back, I guess to answer your question, yeah, it was really hard for a long time, really traumatic and really overwhelming and excruciating, so painful. And I just wanted to shut off my feelings because I felt so much. I'm so sensitive and I had no resource really. I had no ability to even explain what I was going through as a teenager. I was having like panic attacks and so upset and didn't know what I needed and didn't know what was wrong, but just felt like everything was wrong. And it's, the moment I found alcohol, I was just so relieved. It was the best, best feeling to just shut everything off and shut everything down. And
At 14, right? That was when you started. Yeah, because
yeah.
my youngest just turned 15. So when I was listening to that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine this little tiny soul, finding alcohol at that age.
I can't either. It's weird being back in San Francisco. I grew up here and I walk around the city and I have so many memories of going to bars and clubs and just partying. And I was so young. And I look at 14-year-olds. I was just with one of my best friends up Northern California, and she has two daughters who I've known since they were like little bread loaf sizes. And
Oh,
they're 10 and 6, and the 10-year-old is already like a preteen, and I'm connecting with that aspect of myself through her, and
hmm.
just amazed at how, but I thought I was 25, when I was 14. I was like, no one can tell me what to do. And I was just, I thought I was such an adult and I was tall. So I could like pass for my fake ID. And,
Oh my gosh.
but yeah, the trauma and the piece of all the different layers of the complexities that came with my family. I'd like to call it an advanced training program. That's what it feels
Yeah, I
like.
love that.
It's just, wow, an advanced initiation. And some of us really choose that to come into this life. I know um, to remember sooner. It's like the catalyst of the awakening needed to get on track with your mission.
Right. So you went through drinking and drugs and all that up until you came to a place, I want to say 2012.
Yeah,
So
around that. It's
10,
2011. Yeah.
okay. So a little over 10 years ago. Were you, I felt like when you met the healer, you were in New York.
Yeah, I've reached a total rock bottom. I had had many rock bottoms. I tried to get sober when I was 17 because I was already, blacking out alcoholically and getting into fights and getting arrested, and it was really dangerous.
You?
Yeah, oh, I would
Wow.
get into fist fights and steal
Oh
stuff,
my gosh.
arrested and nearly fall off cliffs. I've had many near death, not in the way you think of now, like near death experiences that are conscious, it was just like I wanted to die. And I would
Huh.
try to, and I would have, and like probably in hindsight, like angelic interception with, like I should have fallen off the cliff, but somehow my sweatshirt that had been open suddenly was zipped, and someone was able to pull the sweatshirt back so that I didn't fall off of like
Wow.
100 cliff into the ocean. Just a lot of things like that, quite often falling into traffic, people drunk driving, me drunk driving across town, like just really crazy stories, and doesn't compute. So I just wasn't allowed to leave basically. And yeah, I'm 24 years old. I moved to New York City, which is a dream of mine, and I just hit a very intense rock bottom around a lot of things. Financial scarcity was one of them, which really isn't has nothing to do with money. It was more about my inability to feel supported by myself, by life, paralyzing anxiety. Didn't help that I was doing a ton of cocaine and drinking and blacking out and just had psychosis. I was paranoid that people were following me and I was hallucinating things and and I was stripping, escorting, just getting into really
Huh.
dangerous um, situations where I had no regard for my life, but was willing to like do something for a couple $100s or something like that as
Wow.
temporary relief. And just, yeah, I reached a point where I had been trying for a few months. I've gone to therapy and I finally told the therapist the truth of what I was doing. And that was enough for her to, she was shocked. It was the first time I told someone the truth.
Hmm.
And her look on her face was a complete shock. And something about that penetrated my delusion. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, this is dangerous what I'm doing. This is not how I want to live. This is not, this is not good. So they're like little seeds. And then the last one of all wasn't really that dramatic of all of the things, it was like waking up with someone I didn't know how I got there. I didn't know who the person was. I was really hungover, felt terrible, but I had this alarm go off on my phone that was reminding me to go to a meeting of a family friend and her niece to go talk about college because somehow I was also an example of success in education and I had this total
Huh.
double life. And yeah, and I just something about that, like being in that physical environment, like a mess and just feeling terrible, but then having this invitation to go meet family friends and be an example of something that I did care about to help someone else. I was like, that's more of what I really want. That's more of why I really want to be alive. So
Hmm.
something about that was enough to, I didn't drink that day. And then I went to a recovery meeting a couple days later and I just started to get help.
Huh. But you went to a healer. You went to a Reiki healer. Wasn't there something there that made you realize like, oh my gosh, there's something about this energetic
Yeah,
healing?
that was later on. Yeah, it started
Okay.
with wanting to put the drugs and the alcohol down. So I got really into recovery and I got sober and I started to take care of myself and meditate and do the 12 steps. And that really helped me. And I cried for about 2 years.
Wow.
I started to get better and I started to heal my nervous system, which, I needed to get off drugs and alcohol to even start thinking about
Right.
anything else.
What
Started
about
to
relationships? Were you in relationships during that time?
heal. I
No.
had to be alone. Maybe at the beginning I had some little like acting out and stuff, but no, I was not available for relationships. It was so just no. I had to like I think I was single for like 3 or 4 years, and that was really important for me to finally be in relationship with myself. I had to learn how to be with myself. I remember even having to learn how to make time for myself on my calendar. I had been living my life so externally oriented to what other people wanted from me and where what I couldn't be alone. I hated myself. In
Huh.
meditating at first, I couldn't even sit still because I would just be criticizing. And so about a year and a half into my sobriety, I felt so much better. I realized also birth control was a major problem for me, that had
Right.
cut me my intuition and that came up eventually in my sobriety. I was like, I still feel really disconnected. Like, what's going on? I feel something is off. And then I got the intuitive hit to get off of the birth control. And that was an additional detox. And I'm just saying for my body, that was really, I have a curiosity about whether or not that was actually part of the problem I also had when I was 14, because that was around when I got put on birth control when I was 14 years old, when I had my first moon cycle. And that was a major, I was disconnected from myself,
Right.
disconnected from my essence. I'm a super intuitive being, and I was basically disconnected from myself for that entire period. Therefore, alcohol and drugs was also a great way to seek connection and seek that, more of that connection to my true intuitive self and connection to spirit. So these are all just curiosities I have. And then I started to feel better, but then I still felt like this after the birth control, everything detoxed. I did a deep assisted cleanse with a holistic chiropractor, and something still felt off. I felt really anxious. I felt really stressed. I felt very confused. Like my life has never been better, but why do I feel this way? And two different people sent me to a Reiki healer named Rebecca in Brooklyn. and I just went to go check it out. I can't hurt. I need help. Someone's got to know what's going on here. And she gave me my first Reiki session. She told me the word empath. And I finally had a word to describe how I had felt my entire life, that I was absorbing the energy of everybody and everything around me. And no wonder I felt so overwhelmed being in New York City and just sponging
Right.
everything. And after that session, I felt so clear. I felt emptied out. I felt connected to myself, my feelings. And it was a huge awakening. And I started working with her as a life coach, and she really deeply supported me at the beginning of my journey.
Wow. So before I forget, you just cut your hair because you went to the retreat. I was listening to something. I keep meaning to tell you because you're playing with it, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't that like in a ceremony or what? Did you do something as an,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I just hosted a retreat in Bali last month, and so to get ready for the retreat, I do a lot of ceremony, and I get, different initiations of the temples I take people to. And so I went to a temple I love to go to in Ubud called Sabatu, and I was guided to cut my hair to just start a new energetic cycle. And so it's just really short, and I'm learning still how to be with it, but it feels energetically so good.
good because I'm watching you because I just had this like flash of you saying that in an interview I was listening to about you just cutting your hair. And then when I get on with you, because I've been watching you with long hair, I go, oh, that's right. She just cut it. And I can see like you're still getting used to it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
that's
feels
neat.
funny. I actually went to the barber shop in Bali where I kind of like to do a little shock and awe where I went into the barber shop where it's all guys there and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I want," I show them a picture like, I want it like this." And they're like, "Oh, can we film you?" It was so
Oh my
funny.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, I want to go into so you've written books. The latest one is Awaken Now What? And I think just that word, that title is so fitting. And what drives me to that is where we're at in this world right now. Like people are awakening. I'm drawn to people like you for awakening. There's more people like you that I mean, I think of the Akashic Records. I want you to explain that and how when you get your Akashic Records, um, when I got mine read, and I'm starting to see certain things I've only done it one time, but it opens your eyes to life that you're living right now
Mm.
and why you have this certain draw to certain things. What would be because you certify people in Akashic Records.
Sure, yeah. Well, also I hate to correct you, but my book title is called I'm Ascending Now What?
What
So
did I say?
well, you said something else so
Oh my
beautiful.
gosh, how funny.
Awaken,
Oh,
awaken.
I'm ascending now. I'm ascending now. What? I'm awakened.
I
Thank you
like
for
that too.
correcting me. I'm ascending. We're ascending. I'm awakening. I'm ascending. Now
Same,
what?
your language, same thing. Yeah, but just in case people are like, "Where's that book?"
Where's that book?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe you're supposed to write that book.
Maybe.
Yeah, I found the Akashic Records in 2015, or it found me. I was doing, kind of side hustle energy healing. Like I worked with the energy healer and then I became one. I started helping people. That was actually how my first book, The Empath Experience, came to be. It was basically, I was helping all these empaths in New York and doing energy healing with them, and just they were having life-changing results from the protocols I was giving them, which were basically just the things I found that helped me to live. I
Oh,
take all of it for granted, but it's like the things we do to live and feel good, can take them for granted. They could save someone's life.
right.
So I intuitively was like guided, okay, I need to put this into some kind of an article, which I did. I've reached so many people. Then another article helped so many people. Yeah, I think I have a little bit more to say about this. Let me make a little ebook. And then I started the ebook, and then I had an editor reach out to me offering me a book deal, which doesn't really happen. And so it was just a fun reminder of meeting the universe halfway, especially if you have, service. You're here to help. You're here to help. We're all here to help with unique medicine. And we don't know. We don't know who we're supposed to help or how it's supposed to get out there, but we follow the next right step. Like, I need to get this message out, this medicine out, this story out. and the support to get it out there will show up. And kind of the same with the second one. And then, so I was doing this side hustle healing on the weekends, and I was working full time in an advertising agency in New York. And then on the Healing Center newsletter that I was working at, I saw this like, weekend intensive for the Akashic Records. And I had never heard of this term, but I also felt this kind of creepy familiarity. Like it just felt so familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
I barely even read the description. I just signed up for it. I'm like, I have to do that. It's one weekend, upstate New York. Why not? And I went, and I had the most profound remembrance of other lifetimes where I had taught this work, and I had been an advisor, and I had been using this technology for many lifetimes in other dimensions, not just on Earth. And I felt like a part of me came into my body. It was a soul retrieval, whatever you want to call it. I felt like a part of me was at home, came in. And then I also felt this immense grief simultaneously that, oh, this part of me that's existed this whole time wasn't here this entire life. There's some mourning, and it's a very profound experience. And then we were giving practice sessions and doing attunements, and I just had immediate recall. And I was just giving readings, and my clairvoyance was just right online, and it was so much fun. And then I just started giving readings as much as I could, and that's where it all began. And then in around 2016, even like soon after 2017, maybe, people started coming to me without even me advertising or saying anything. I was just giving readings and working with mentorship clients, always with that support. And then very soon after, like I think 2017, maybe 2016, people started coming to me asking if I could train them one-on-one, without even like, is this something I can do? Am I qualified for this? But people were just coming, and I had, maybe like 10 students without even, again, putting any word out about it. And I was developing a training program, and it wasn't just about the Akashic Records. It was much more than that. It was really kind of an update to the system, which on this planet has been a bit antiquated in terms of its dimensional range. And in the last couple of years, probably since 2015, I've been templating a different system, and I think it will have a different name eventually. I'm supposed to write a book about it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we've been practicing. So in 2020, I started the Akashic Facilitator training. I've graduated 70, more than that actually now, 70 practitioners through that program, and it's such a joy. It's so much fun. It's total soul family reunion. It's such a
Right.
diverse group of people every time, and I know that this is the medicine that can really help heal the planet. And it's really the premise of the whole program is to help people embody their true selves. And then
Right.
from there, launch their own unique energetic signature of their modality, of their healing. Not just Akashic Records. I use that as like the launch pad, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
fun technique to just, learn kind of the basics, and then learn how to actually refine what is your unique style of energetic healing and intuitive guidance. And it will be different for every single person.
Right. Will you explain the Akashic field in your words, and how, when so about me for a second, I, in 2020, started this podcast because something said, start a podcast, right? I have raised my girls intentionally with all the, I've done all the personal development. I had them, you're at 37 and 40, right? So older. And I had put out a few of my first, episodes, and I had these parents asking if I could help their kid because we had been going through, we we're all quarantined, right? And so, of course, I'm drawn to children. I love to help children, right? And I loved raising my children. I so deeply knew, 0 to 7, like, what am I doing, Ash? We're telling Richard, like, we're programming these little computers, like, like, I just was very aware, right? I was an aware parent. So anyway, long story short, when I'm listening to you and how you do this business and pull this out of people through understanding their Akashic records and all that, but what I have done and when I've done my Akashic records, all I'm doing is helping children. I'm in these schools. I'm a teacher. There's a line out the door, or I've been ridiculed by teaching things to children, and the parents don't really like it. so all that comes, but is that how would you explain that to me if I was going to come to you and I would say, I've done this, Sidney, and yeah, you're probably, tell me.
Yeah, you're so sweet. I could totally see all that, by the way. Yeah, my understanding, what do I want to share right now? It's most useful. Literally just ask what is most important to say right now for this group in this moment. The Akashic field is the known field, and it is a dimension of information that contains all of the history of all of our souls, all souls beyond all timelines, spaces, and dimensions. And in this dimension, we have access to the history of your unique soul's blueprint, which entails its unique gifts, its different lessons that it's chosen to come back to learn in this life and other lifetimes, usually repeat lessons. And really, these lessons are to lead you into mastery. So each soul has a master gift and something that you have been working on,
Hmm.
probably for many lifetimes, that you're here to actualize, that you're here to actualize through a contribution. We're here in service. Many of us are here in service. Many of us are here also learning. Learning is a part of service. Learning is a part of how we come into understanding of our gifts. And so a bit of an update, though, to the old system, which is taught in a lot of that's why I got to write a new book to kind of give some updates on what I've been seeing and how I've been practicing. Because some of the old system would say you're locked in to your soul's history, and it's a little bit heavy, right? Like there's
Mhm.
contracts and there's different characteristics you're kind of locked into and have to transmute. There's just a lot of heaviness. Whereas actually, we're so much more multidimensional than we give ourselves credit for, and we can be far more malleable and flexible and adaptable than ever before because of, how energy is now moving through the planet and through our bodies and how embodied and resourceful we now are. Things have changed, so we're not as beholden to our karma as we
Hmm.
might have been in other times on this planet. And we can actually really reinvent ourselves, and we can try new things that are maybe more experimental or in different directions. And we can quantum leap in different dimensions of our purpose and different dimensions of our authentic expression. And yeah, regarding what you shared briefly, I saw that immediately too, that the school, even this podcast that you're creating, it's like this is an iteration of that. It's a school, it's a training platform, it's a way of initiating and supporting like the dissemination of information, of hidden, or maybe, yeah, information for a long time was dangerous to share because it's dangerous, even we see in our society, for people to be too empowered.
Mhm.
Dangerous to the status quo, it's dangerous to the norms. And then of course we want to focus on empowering children, especially the children coming into this planet now. They're such advanced beings, they're so advanced, and that this might actually be very triggering for many parents at this time to have children that they feel inept to support. They
Right.
feel inept to be able to support them in the old way. They cannot support them in the old conditioned ways of discipline, of control over. This is not going to work with these sovereign souls. They're so advanced and they really operate in a very different structure, different ethics, I would say. They're very freedom oriented, and
Mhm.
they require a lot. What they're asking the adults to do is to evolve into more of their own freedom and sovereignty so that they too can be more curious and inquisitive and expansive and playful. This is the energy that these new beings are requiring.
And did they so how do you look at life, our souls, coming into this earth, uh, at this time, the souls, the children that you're just speaking of, and my children are teenagers, but I know their vibration is so much higher than when we were brought onto this planet. But are we all chose to come to earth, this fraction of our soul, to come into this body? We chose this to bring this planet to a higher dimension? Or how do you look at it that way? How do you look at it?
It's different for every single being. Yeah, it's different for every single being. The specifics of why. Generally, what I've been shown, and I've done thousands of sessions with people, what I've always, it's so sweet when we look back beyond the human personality and all the stories we have here and density in the body and family history and conditioning. It's the soul wanted to come and have a experience. These energetic, infinite beings that we are, floating around in these other dimensions or in other planets, where it's really very different, and there's different, laws of gravity and matter or no matter and no mind. Earth is a hard place, literally, like it's dense and it's hard and it's hard. And it's one of my guides is making a joke, and it's a lot to come to a planet where there's so much emotion. There's such a spectrum of emotional content to sort through and mental conditioning to sort through. We don't have this in other places through a body. We don't have to navigate so much data through feeling, and it's a lot. It's a lot to be embodied. And even in the last couple of generations, it wasn't, where in my lifetime, I've seen such a shift in what is possible in embodiment. Like it's such a transitional time that we're alive in right now.
Mm-hmm.
It was not possible to embody at the level that we are now because of, again, the frequencies on the planet being such that the higher dimensional beings that we are can actually come into the body, into more physicality, can actually like really ground here, exist here. So we're doing a lot of things for the first time. And I don't believe that my soul knew that this was going to be part of the game. I don't think I was like up there. I love that movie Soul. It's a kid's movie. It's
Yeah, I do too.
I remember seeing that when it came out and I was like, this is epic. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone see that because that is right on. And I love the energy of that film conveys. It's like, oh yeah, these sweet, innocent beings that we all are, these divine beings. And I wanted to come in to have an experience that was going to be unlike anything else possible elsewhere. Just for fun. I think for my soul, it's like, I'm here to have fun. I wanted to come in and have fun and have the sensory immersion that's only possible through a body in this density, to have the conscious experience of awakening into embodiment, of awakening through the body, not disassociating, ascending out of the body into some other realm. No, to be here, to be present, and then connect and create, to create something new, to just for the fun of it, for the experience of it. No pressure, no stress, no saving the world, all of that I think was some deep conditioning along
Mm-hmm.
the way that also gets to be let go of at a certain point. But it feels like everyone's journey is really unique. I think some people have recall of, coming in. I will say this is what I'm hearing. And I think a lot of this is coming in because people listening to your frequency, the show, it's like you are here to help. You have been here before. You are old. You're an old soul. Many of us are old souls. It's actually not a lot of us on the planet comparatively. Like there's some very old beings here on the planet. We must find each other as we're here to help. And it can feel very heavy at times because we have had training and we've then built the capacity to process a lot of energy on this planet to make it a little bit easier for other people. We do this, of course, so that we learn. We do it not to save anybody or disempower anyone from having their own experience, but we're here to help. And we did it also to build our own capacity and see how strong and resilient and powerful we are. And to also learn that we can't be doing this alone. We must find each other and be in community and be supporting each other. That it really does, the shift that we came here to enact and to experience is requiring a team effort, and it is requiring unity and more collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my word for 2024 is connection. And I've started, I know you're into, I think one of your things is you wanted to do more retreats, like you're more like in person. It's like, connecting. And, we've missed out in the last few years of that connection. And I know, when you connect to a soul that you resonate with, and that just raises your vibration and raises your your knowing of why you're here, and opens up this beautiful, it's a mirror almost of, you're looking at yourself. And and then when I see life in that way, and I look at you, and I look at having this podcast, and it is part of my teaching journey that fulfills my soul. I look back too at, when you look back and you see your life, and how, from, the little breadcrumbs that you picked, and why you did certain things, and our stories, right? And that's also perfect. We came here because and you call it a game. I call it a game too. The Game of Life and How You Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. That used to be my favorite book. And I really feel like when you look at life as a game, and I love how you talk. I want you to talk about abundance and prosperity and money, because I love your take on that. But when you look at life as a game, and you're here to serve, and you're here to love, and it takes so much of the pressure and the seriousness out of it, and to realize to have fun. Because game, isn't it, coming here to play a game is to have fun. And when you are having fun, that's when you raise the vibration of everyone around you, and you lift. I mean, in this family that I live in, I mean, it's a high vibe family, and it's intentional. I've taught these girls, they wouldn't know what to do if I wasn't in a high vibe. They'd be like, "What's wrong with you, mom?" But will you explain kind of how, I feel like, um, the way you explain life now, and you're like late 30s.
I just turned 36. Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, think of that. You're so young. You're 9 year, right? That's amazing. Will you just explain life, like how you look at it? And because you do kind of look at it as a game. I also would love to talk about how you see I want you to talk about that, add that to the answer about prosperity and abundance, and how that
Oh.
gets in the way, or people let it get in the way.
I can only share what's really alive for me right now. And I'm in a challenging moment, actually, in my growth. And that's okay. It's challenging. I'm actually negotiating the way that I approach life. That's what it feels like. It feels like a very deep
Hmm.
reorientation. And I was just before this with you on a call with someone who was on my retreat with me in Bali. And we were integrating a bit about how, we achieved such a high state of presence. And, the premise of the retreat was to embody heaven on earth. And we did. We embodied what it feels like to be in heaven on earth as ourselves. And it was just ecstatic. It
Hmm.
was like pure bliss, and but in a grounded, real way. And it was so phenomenal. And then I feel like I could cry because I feel my heart just exploded. I felt such a deepening in my capacity for love,
Huh.
and to be touched by life, to be touched by the beauty of this reality. And I remembered more deeply why I'm here, why I'm alive. And, and it's the words really don't do justice. The feeling, it was just so profound.
Hmm.
And then coming back into, we come out of the retreat field and are back in reality, and I'm pretty protected in terms of the circles that I keep, and I associate with really beautiful beings and beautiful energies. And still, back in reality. And there's also the contrast of like all the other fields of existence. And I also was aware that I wanted to come back to San Francisco and do some repair with my biological family.
Hmm.
So Yeah, I'm integrating in the contrast of that, like a deeper, more real, more profound attunement to the sacredness of life and what true abundance actually is. I mean, the Balinese, I've lived there. I've been going there for years. I've been taking retreats there for years. And this time I was just blown away. I felt like I was there for the first time in a way. And I think this is what happens as we embody more, as we come more into ourselves, as we become more present, as we're more here, as our soul's more here. It feels like living for the first time, even if we've been to a place a billion times. So it was all new. And I was so touched by the Balinese people. These people live in ceremony constantly, and they're modernized, and there's capitalism, and there's all that. And underneath all of it is the fabric of devotion to God,
Hmm.
ceremony, prayer, procession, and then some very strong values around family and community. And I feel like they're enlightened beings. I was just learning so much from being there, and it touched this part of me that, had already been living in devotion, I thought, and have
Right.
been for years, like I'm here in devotion, I'm a teacher, I'm in service. But what's reorienting now is like in deepening in that, like a shedding of, and this happens, this is healthy, this is a part of ascension, this is a part of embodiment. We go in cycles, it's an upward spiral. There's no end and there's no perfection. It's all perfect. It's all perfect, even in the mess.
Right.
And how can we accept and love ourselves even when it's messy and unclear and awkward and weird? And there's shame and there's guilt and there's old emotions and there's I don't know myself and what I'm here to do. And I'm in this interview and this person's relating to me as this best-selling author and this retreat host and this healer. And I'm on the inside, like, I'm not sure what I'm actually here for right now, because whatever I do next, I need it to come from a different place. I need it to come from pure devotion without any agenda of trying to convince anybody, of even trying to teach anybody anything, of trying to sell anything, of trying to get anything from you. These
Hmm.
are energies that most people are probably not tracking, but I am so subtly aware of them operating in my consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I can clean it all out and then take action. I don't know, but this is the curiosity that I'm in. I'm trying to really be so loving and kind and compassionate because it's really tender. It's like there's a different level of relating to reality that I'm exploring. And I just want to share that because it sometimes can be a lot to just live and embody and choose to really be here. It can be depressing, it can be scary, it can be really emotional, it can be overwhelming, and to really question reality, which is also very healthy. But to have the capacity to do that is can be very confronting. And I think a lot of us actually are going through that, especially teachers and people that are really leading in integrity. It's okay to fall apart a little bit sometimes, and to share about it more openly as well, I think is really healing.
Right. You were saying in something I was listening to that you feel like like you were saying it just now, like you feel like you're a new soul living in this body. Like, is that what you mean? But like you feel like a new soul came into right? Like you
Constantly.
feel
I kind of feel like that constantly, but I had a specific experience, and it's hard to even recall now. I feel it a lot being back in San Francisco because there's a lot of memory. I grew up here. I've been coming here for years. My family's here, but there's a lot that I don't remember. My body has a faint memory, but there's certain things I just completely do not remember, which is evidence to me that this consciousness talking to you was not here. So 3 years ago, I had a walk-in experience where just a bigger part of my soul came in to
hmm,
embodiment, came online, and more abilities and awareness and capacity came with that. And um, and now it feels like that happens occasionally. That happened in Bali, I feel too. We set up a field in our retreat for that to happen for everybody in our field. We let more of ourselves come in,
hmm,
and there's an integration. It's not just like a one and done. Oh, I have more of my soul. I'm this more radiant, luminous being. It's like sometimes the soul will come in, and then in that illumination process, there's going to be more awareness of density, of things that were formerly unconscious, of old memories, and things that, layers of personality, survival, fear, repression, whatever it is, that it needs to get detoxed and cleaned out in order for this new light, this
Hmm.
frequency to stabilize. And that's a bit of what I'm experiencing right now.
And what does that feel like when you say that 3 years ago you had to walk you could feel your more of your soul came into your body? What is that? How would that how would you know that?
Oh, well, I felt like I was dying. So I actually had I never got tested, but felt like I had the COVID and for the first time, and it was really visceral. But then psychically, I was guided that, I'm going through a process of a different energy coming into my body. And that whatever physical thing is happening is the detox of ancient cellular memory, trauma, control. Different survival structures are being purged out. And I mean, for 5 days, I had 101 to 103 fever, couldn't
Hmm.
eat. I was, but and I was terrified. I had to face my mortality. And so it did feel like this old aspect died, and that even maybe part of my old body structure did die. And then meant a lot of integration since then, like the months to follow that. And yeah, and then kind of the crystallization of the awareness I just shared, probably a year later, looking back, like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's what happened, and more awareness from my guides and teams, helping me piece reality back together. And yeah, and I think this is something to get accustomed to. The rate of acceleration of frequency on this planet is again unlike anything we've ever seen. And we've never been through it like this before. So I wonder if this will become more the norm for, just more accelerated soul integration and more, yeah, more people having these walk-ins or just, retrievals even. And I think this is more accessible than ever. If you consciously feel like I want to retrieve more of my soul. I want to feel more present in my body. I want to feel more of my multidimensional abilities and capacity to use those abilities for healing and insight and fun and creation. There's never been a better time to explore how that could unfold for you.
Wow. You hadn't back when you were writing your first book, when did you really start listening and channeling and knowing you had that you were listening, you could hear your guide speaking? When did that gift come? Or when did you become aware of it, I guess?
Probably 2015 when I did the Akashic Records training was when it really crystallized. I think prior to then I was meditating and doing energy healing, and I was aware of having a lot of guidance and a lot of clairvoyance. And I would occasionally tell people messages I felt from sessions and things like that. But I had a lot of fear of sharing openly what I was seeing. I had a lot of fear of being open about that and
Hmm.
saying I'm a psychic or I'm an intuitive or I might have said I'm an intuitive energy healer, but I shied away from saying that I could like translate or channel guidance or any of that for some reason. Probably from, other lifetimes where I had been persecuted for that.
Yeah. But when you are helping people with their businesses, because I'm drawn to that when I was reading about you and listening, and people come on and meet with you, you do the Akashic reading, so you kind of see where their soul, where they are, right? Or what their soul is about. And then you help guide them to build a business in alignment with their soul's path. Is that correct?
Yeah, right when I start working with someone in mentorship in that way, I get a whole download about not only their blueprint, their path, their purpose, their gifts, but also their leadership style, the way that they're most attuned to creating with ease, the kinds of people that they're meant to help. I mean, it's like a whole business plan kind of downloads in a way, but it's leading with the energetics. And it's also leading with like what is in the way of where you want to be. we have to look at what's in the way of you being at full capacity in service, in your gifts, in your contribution. So what are some of the leading edges that I'm going to help you navigate? What are some of the fears? And a big one tends to be people in repression of their intuitive gifts, or are not sure of how to convey the value of what they do, or it's like they have such incredible multidimensional perception and abilities, but they don't know how to articulate it in a tangible way that people can engage with. And so, yeah, I'd love to. Those are a lot of the, I mean, I've worked with so many different types of people, but I love to work with people that are, I guess, similar to me in that way, that are also wanting to bridge the dimensions of intuitive healing and energy work and business and practical. There's nothing more practical than intuition.
Right. When you started your, like, say you started building your website, let's say, go to that, and you were like, were you just being led by, because there's so many neat programs. I mean, I read them, I read every single one, but are you just letting your intuition lead you? How do you, like, what decided you to, because I know you were in, you helped people start businesses. That was like without, like in New York, right?
That's
So that
my
was,
older career was in advertising and marketing and business consulting. And
right.
then I shifted out of that into my own business, which is a coaching and consultancy, just, has been for 7 years. I was a startup advisor and always in a marketing type of role, strategy role. And then people were just naturally coming to me, asking me for help starting their entrepreneurial ventures, or even refining or scaling something they've already been working on, or even corporate clients wanting to restructure, or just shift the way they relate to their business. And I love that. I love business, especially entrepreneurship, as a vehicle for really navigating what is someone's authentic purpose, what is someone's authentic gifts, what is, because it's going to bring up all your stuff. If you
Right.
choose to be an entrepreneur in this life, there's no better way to to really put under the magnifying glass,
For
okay,
sure.
what are your traumas? What are your core wounds? What are your fears? What are your insecurities? And let's use your business, this creation vehicle, as a means to work on this so that you can be in service, so that you can be in your power. So I just I love that process. And my website, it's funny you should say, I'm actually having someone help me redesign it right now, because it's at the point now where, I've had the business for 7 years, actually longer than that. I've been consulting for 9 years. And there's so much information on my site. There's a lot of layers of different identities, and so many programs. I've done so many programs and trainings and coaching offers, and I've worked with hundreds of people. And so I'm at this moment, maybe part of my renegotiation of my service and the way that I want to show up and orient. I want to have a just really clear, concise website, which is like an energetic representation of more of my internal, like, simplification and clarity. So someone's helping me with that. When I started, I have the same website that I just started as a blog. Like,
Huh.
before, I had some agency job. I think I got fired or something. I was so unhappy in that job. I was like getting sick all the time. It was terrible, so stressful. I got laid off. And then it was the best thing that ever happened, because it kickstarted me into consulting. People were, asking me for help without even advertising. And then I just made a website, made a WordPress blog, because I love to write. I'd always loved to write. So I started a newsletter and I started a blog. And then I had my website, sydneycampos.com. And then I just kept that. I kept that. I kept writing for fun. I kept my newsletter. Even when I transitioned to my next and final agency job, which I was hired as a consultant for, and then they hired me full time like a month in, because I did such a good job. And I exited as part of the founding team and helped them, do an acquisition, and I had the same website. I just kept the same one, made a few tweaks, put my coaching offerings on there. And so it's really been that same template. And I would say yeah, it's been intuitively guided, but also something I'm curious about is, with all the opportunities I've had over the years to make a really highly curated, designed, more intentional site, maybe I've had some resistance to doing that for some reason until now.
Until you're about being in Bali. Something
Maybe,
ignited you.
maybe, yeah, whatever I'm or reorienting to now, I want to feel more I feel more clear in myself. And my curiosity now is, how am I to translate this now? I feel like a new voice is emerging, and much more concise, much more to the point, and that will show up in my creation.
In your creation of your new book, shame, I feel like that word, you say that's like one of the biggest, um, what limiting belief, or shame is one of those words that people carry so much, and you relate to that. Can you go
Yeah,
on that?
sure. My new book, I'm Ascending Now, it is really about healing shame.
Right.
And shame is one of the most toxic emotional energies that we tend to trap deep down in the body, and is one of the biggest blocks to being ourselves and being in the frequency, being in the high frequency that we're here to be in. And it's something I'm very intimate with. So in my book, I talk about the different shades of shame and how to feel, how to navigate it in the body, how to see if how you identify with it, how to start to work with it, and move it through and let it go. And how shame is this really interesting thing that we actually all have in common. It's the universal wound that binds us all. And it's fascinating. I mean, for years,
Mm-hmm.
so many retreats, events, clients, years later, it's every single time the thing that you're most afraid of anybody knowing about you, the thing that you're most ashamed of,
Mm-hmm.
or so terrified of telling anybody. That's always the thing that people relate to and can connect with you most about. Like
Oh, you're
every
so
time.
right. Totally. That is
So
so true.
paradox. It's like, oh, this thing, I would die if anybody knew. And then once you unmask and free yourself and share it, it's like, oh my God, there's so much love and connection here now. People can really relate to me. People can feel me. I
Mm-hmm.
can actually connect with the people I love more. I can actually have more authentic, real relationships, the ones that I always wanted. Wow.
Right. What a concept, right? Huh.
Yeah. So I love creating space in which that can happen, in which people feel invited and safe to take off the mask, and then take off another mask that they didn't even know they were wearing, and then another one, and then another one, and the whole costume comes off, and then a whole other layer of the costume comes off, and then you can just be yourself. And then we can really hang out, and we can really have fun, and we can really create something new together.
Because you shared so much with me at the beginning, um, that I'm sure were hard to share years before, that you would just keep inside and be. So how do you peel that onion how do you just get someone to like to start peeling away?
That would be cool if someone else could do it for me. That'd be great. Tell me where to sign up for that.
But when you say that, like when we talk about shame, because when you said if you could
Yeah.
share with the people the one thing that you're most shameful about in your life, or the one thing that you could, wish you could go back and have a redo, that's the biggest connection point. How
Mhm.
do you get people to get there?
Uh, yeah, there has to be a willingness usually for someone. I'm fascinated. I really
Yeah,
hope I didn't take rock bottoms anymore as much, but something about this human experience seems to require some kind of wake-up call where there's enough pain or motivation to want to change.
right.
I'd love for it to be easier. And so there's got to be a willingness. Like, I want connection. I want more love. I want more intimacy. I want more power. I want more of a sense of purpose. I want more fulfillment. I want more money. I want more success, whatever it is. I guess we're still relating on the pain point to get to where you really want to be. But, so there's a willingness, there's a desire, there's a motivation. And then from there, I mean, there's many ways in groups. I love to do this work in groups, because we can just have so much more support and resource. And there's a bunch of different games and kind of just practices I love to share to that end, and authentic relating. And one of my favorite ways, honestly, is we did this in Bali, is I have everyone pair up And you can do this right now with someone that you care about and that you love and trust in your life. If you're in a partnership, amazing to do in a relationship. So powerful. With a good friend, so powerful to deepen an intimacy and connection. You can say, hey, do you want to play this connection game with me? It's, a couple minutes. I actually have this outlined in my book as well in one of the later chapters. And this is a game about authenticity and healing, and I'd like to be in deeper connection with you. And this is a fun way that we could explore that. Are you game? Do you want to try? Okay, cool. So then you just have a little timer. You can do like 3 minutes to start. And it's good when you're sitting across from each other, take some deep breaths together, kind of even meditate together. You can make this as long as you want. You can meditate for a long time, do some breath work, start to eye gaze, come into connection, connecting beyond the personality, beyond the stories, just being in presence with someone's divinity. And then there will be one person that shares first, and you can share something to the effect of, answering the prompt, being with you, I feel. And then just say what naturally comes, being with you, I feel. And then you're noticing what's happening in your body. What do you feel when you're in the presence with this other person? What are you noticing? Oftentimes, if you're really being honest, there will be discomfort or insecurity or all kinds of things come up. This is a way that we start to get into the shame. We don't just go right in like, what's the most terrible thing you've ever done that you're so ashamed of?
Yeah.
Get a little bit more subtle and attuned, but this is how we create the conditions for that depth and intimacy and safety to become a foundation. And then, do that for a few minutes. And the other person goes, being with you, I feel. The other person's just listening, receiving, breathing. So already that's going to shift a ton in the nervous system. There's an opening, heart's open. It's profound. Just a couple minutes of this. It's such a big shift. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, the next thing you could say is something I'm afraid for anybody to know about me is. That's going pretty deep. That's like the Band-Aid ripping off a little bit.
Right.
You can go as deep as you want, though. Something I'm afraid for just anybody to know about me is kind of what I just told you. Like, I'm renegotiating my whole career and service and how I want to show up and really looking at it in a different way. And it's scary. And whatever else comes, anything. And it's just offloading, it's unburdening, unmasking. And usually a lot of emotion will be released because you have someone there witnessing you that's just listening. They don't have an agenda to say anything. They just receive it. And I facilitate this way more in depth, but I just wanted to give a little taste
Yeah,
of
I love that.
you let people, you could do this right now. You could do this today. You don't have to be an expert facilitator. I mean, we're all human. And, if you do want to study that kind of facilitation modality deeper, it's called authentic relating or embodied facilitation. And then, this is something I've been teaching and practicing for a long time, and it's really just one of the best tools.
So doing that, because you have done that, you have shared and gotten rid of your shame. Is it, you
Not
understand?
all, maybe not all of it.
Well,
But you're
you've
right. Like,
understood.
yeah, certain things, like you said, some of the things I said at the beginning, I would have been terrified to share. I mean, I used to be terrified of even saying, sharing publicly the different experiences I was having with private clients. I was having these galactic, messages coming and mediumship experiences and people's relatives showing up in my, space and all kinds of stuff. And I could not translate that publicly. Like when it would come time to try to write about what I do or how I help people, I could not say. I was so afraid
Huh.
of, I don't even remember now because it's so normal to me now. But back then, I think I was afraid of what people would think. I think it was a credibility thing of people not taking me seriously. I wanted to continue to work in business. And if I'm saying I'm the psychic healer, what are the business people going to think of me in New York, at that time? So, and yeah, it's been a very nonlinear path. I've just had enough pain and willingness. I just desperately want to be real.
Right.
I desperately I do not want to feel like I'm holding these masks up. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to control people's perception of me. And it's been painful enough where I've literally sought out every single modality. It feels like at times every single type of healing, every training, everything. I mean, there's more, but it feels like I've done it all. And daily practice, daily work, therapy for years, weekly, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't matter. It's just I've had to do what I've had to do to be here. And it's been a lot of work. And honestly, I don't think most people are up for it. It's
Mm-mm.
really hard. It's really hard. And what I'm going through right now, I feel like I'm on the verge of just what's alive for me right now. I feel like I'm on the verge of tears.
Huh.
Often I'm touching in to such a deeper part of myself, and then the depth at which I can connect with reality and with you and with the nature of this conversation, that it's so emotional.
Hmm.
I think that's healthy. I'm like, wow, I'm letting myself be touched by how impactful really being alive is.
Right.
So, and I don't know if that'll last forever, but that's what's happening. And so it's been a long journey and it's been a lot of work, and I don't think everyone's up for it. And I don't know what it takes to be up for it.
Right.
And sometimes it can also feel lonely. Like, are other people down to do this level of work? And with the new people coming in with these new kids, these teenagers, like, is it actually that much work for them, or are they already there? They
Right.
seem to actually already be very well suited to just stabilizing in the high frequencies and not letting so much trauma and shame stick to them, even if they inherited from the family line a lot of energy. It seems that they've naturally been able to transmute it more effectively, and that they don't have such a mental load of having to process and rewire, and they
Right.
just are more clear. So it's, again, a really fascinating transitional time that we're in to notice, kind of this in between. And then I look at my parents and and then people older than that, and they just have a lot more density, have a
Mm-hmm.
lot more memory, and a different system, a different operating system, a different energy system that makes it even more challenging to unravel the stories.
Very.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, because I deal with parents because I'm trying to help their children. And that's why I'm so intrigued by working with you, because there's a block there,
Mm.
that because I feel like there's so much density there that they're kind of still, it's like, I always say the hamster wheel, but I feel like their families they just keep repeating and repeating it. And these children are coming in at this higher level. And when I've had a few grandparents see that their child is repeating the program, so they worry about their granddaughter. So then they sign up the program. And then I see these kids that are like the ones that I've worked with over the last 4 years. It's 111 and 11 December. 11111. But um when I when there's a block, when these parents don't realize that these kids are already equipped, and I feel like it's just they don't open that. It's just they keep layering the weight for these children. And when I get them to, oh, Ashley, help my granddaughter or my child. And when we get on Zoom, oh my gosh, Sidney, it takes me, like, after the first session, the second one, it's like everything just, the onion just exploded, and it's so easy. And then and so there's just that, there's not a majority. When you say that earlier, like, I don't know why people, I don't know what it's going to take for this other section of souls that aren't ready to, unmask themselves and understand that their children are needing to be lighter, and they already have everything, but are just being, programmed from these old beliefs, and they just can't get away from it. And then we're just continuing. And I know everything's perfect. I know every soul came to do something, but there's a block there. And maybe it's my block. I just feel like you just want to sit there and shout it to the world. Like, I want to help every child see who they truly are and open up their eyes to this amazing unlimited life that you can be, do, or have anything. But it's so true. But they don't have, there's just so much. I mean, I don't know if it's social media and all the technology that these kids have been, have the, just so much weight has been put upon them. Once I see that I can help them, and I just have such a passion, but I don't know. What do you think?
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. It's so important. And it's really interesting to be connecting with you now, because the last month and a half, I would say I've been getting a similar message that I'm supposed to help families and children. And I've been doing this for years. I've had my clients bring me their kids, and I've been coaching. I've been always, pro bono mentoring for teenagers, people that read my book that need help, who are like these super advanced beings in high school. And I could always do more of that probably. But it's been very loud in my awareness that like some of the most important work we could do, I could do, to support the collective ascension, is to really help the families. And that, if this society is going to thrive, it,
Hmm.
nothing else matters. Like nothing else really matters, than how are these kids growing up? How are the parents being supported to really develop as embodied beings that these advanced children can attune to? Like that's it. It's the most.
Exactly.
They're going to build the whole new infrastructure. They're going to build all the new technology. They have all the memory. They have all the plans. Like nothing else really matters. And so I thank you for hearing that call and doing this work, and you are helping and you are making a huge shift. And I'm literally shown the image of the needle, like moving the needle. It's being moved through the work that you're doing and through the message that you're sharing. And the guidance I get about this block, I hear that you have no block. What you're experiencing, at least in my frame of reference, it might be similar to what I just described, that there's like this, it's like a coming to or a reckoning moment of reality where, of course, we could see from our lens, like what could make things a lot easier and what other people could do to, lighten the load and help. And of course, it doesn't have to be so much worse before it gets better. And of course, it doesn't have to be this like horrible bottom moment to wake up and choose to change.
Right.
It doesn't have to be. But it seems like that's what it has to be for now. And then it's a lesson. If there's any block, it's the lesson for those of us in a position to teach and guide and share, to pause, to come even more into presence, and compassion. I'm being shown the image of Jesus.
Hmm.
Just forgive them, they know not what they do. Holding the mirror of this, I'm hearing very directly, I think for you, fierce loving compassion and fierce grace. And like there's nothing to do. And even dropping any story of there's something to do or coaching or a modality or a solution or an onion to peel, like there's nothing to do. And I'm just going to be here, and I'm going to be with you, however you are, and love you. Because I love myself also. The deeper part of the work is I love myself so much that there's
Mhm.
nothing I have to do ever again.
Right.
And I
I
can
love
just
that.
see the love
Right.
that in the reflection of this presence, you remember you are love. You remember your own solutions. The onion is peeling. You're the one that does the peeling. No one else can do that for you.
Right.
And this is the process. This is what I'm going through. It's hard. It's really challenging. And it appears as a block, I think, only if we're in that dimension where there's any agenda of like we need to
Mm.
be on some trajectory of figuring a certain thing out at
Yes.
a certain rate and checking the boxes and a certain number of people,
Totally.
any of that stuff, because none of that matters.
Right. Oh, thank you. See, when you, oh, I just loved this time, and I'm taken up a lot of your time, and you come to my life and when I was sitting there with you today and listening and walking with the dogs, and you've been in my heart for the last few days, and it's like, wow, and then, I just think I had these like these aha moments with you just in this last hour. And I'm so grateful. So grateful. And you're so right. There's no agenda. Just be love. That's it. Be love. No agenda. You're right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How can people find you? They can get to your website.
Yeah.
That will be changing.
Yes, it'll be a little, it's in a process. It's a long, probably in the new year I'll have a new website, but it's just my name, sydneycampos.com, and then my books are all on there. And I did have a podcast for many years called Visionary Souls, which is such a cool time capsule, and I was guided to end that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because it just felt like it was the old, it had been for so many years and it was so fun, but also just started to feel kind of like, it's a different identity. I love podcasting. It's such a great way to connect and translate a lot of information and reach a lot of people. And I'll probably do it again someday, but it'll be a different form.
Yeah. Neat. But you listen to that and you just, I'm done now. For right
Yeah.
now, I'm going to close that chapter.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, Sidney, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for all of your time. It was beautiful. So grateful.
My pleasure. Thank you.